Supermarkets are magical places. Think about it. You walk in and you take your pick. Want a Californian avocado? Easy. Some Indian mangoes? Done. Fresh all year, available worldwide. Bish, bash, bosh. Like I said, it's magic. Well, not actually. Why? Because it involves a lot of this. Cooling is food's best friend. The cold chain is what allows our food to get from farm to table, fresh and ready to eat. And while that is basically background noise in rich countries, its absence is felt in many other parts of the world. And as the globe heats up, the future of cooling is more important than ever. Because right now, cooling is a double-edged sword for the planet. Both its presence and absence have big ecological costs. On the one hand, it's heavily polluting, but without it, we suffer massive food waste, which isn't good for the climate either. So how do we tip the scale? As low-income countries start investing in cooling, can they reinvent the cold chain? From the moment it's harvested, our food immediately starts to die. So we work our magic to prolong its life. We put it into cooled packaging, store it in temperature-controlled facilities, transport it in specialized vehicles, plop it on refrigerated supermarket shelves, and then shove them in our fridges at home. From farm to table, our food travels in endless winter temperatures, no matter the season. This is called the cold chain. It's the invisible system of cooling facilities that preserves food at every step of its path. I know, a cold chain couldn't sound more boring, but there's a lot riding on it. And when you get into it, it's actually kind of fascinating. For example, did you know that we lose 12% of global food production, or 526 million tons of food every year because of the lack of refrigeration? That's enough to feed 1 billion people. And it's worse in some parts of the world. In sub-Saharan Africa, for example, nearly half of all fruits and vegetables go to waste, mainly because of poor cooling. That's also the region experiencing the highest rates of undernourishment, at nearly a quarter of the population. Food rots before it gets to people because the cold chain infrastructure is either weak or it just simply doesn't exist. And it doesn't just leave people and countries hungry. It also has a huge impact on the climate. Food loss and waste causes about 8% of human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. Cutting that could help in our fight against climate change. Ironically, cold chains are big emitters in and of themselves. The refrigerants and fossil fuels used for cooling causes about 7% of global emissions. But as global temperatures rise, so does our need for artificial cooling, especially in global south countries with little refrigeration infrastructure. Some people see this as an opportunity to redesign the cold chain altogether, to not only reduce food waste, but to help solve the climate crisis and protect the planet. That's what these guys are trying to do in Rwanda. This is ACES, a first-of-its-kind initiative harnessing expertise across both hemispheres. Their goal? Building accessible, smart, net-zero cold chains across Africa. No big feat. They're setting up Rwanda's first advanced laboratory for studying food preservation, and they're looking into how we use solar power, waste heat, and bioenergy to create more cold chain storage in a country that has almost none. They're also developing technology that prolongs crop life after harvest, even outside of cold storage. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. No pun intended. Hey? Okay. ACES is not only about technology, it's about building cold chains from the bottom up. They're rolling out community hubs across Africa to make sure that these technologies reach local communities and work in real-life settings. The first one is set to open in Kenya this year. Smallholders produce 90% of food in Kenya, but many don't have access to refrigeration that could safely get their food from farm to fork. This hub wants to change that by connecting them to an affordable and clean cold chain. From storage to transport to quality control and data management, this hub will manage every step of the food's journey that requires cooling. For a country which loses 30 to 40% of its fruits and veggies every year because of poor cooling, this could be a game changer. Kind of cool, right? Getting produce from here to here is a challenge in itself. Doing it in a sustainable way is an even bigger challenge. Truth is, ACES are just getting started, so we haven't seen much yet, but it's ambitious and it might just work. If they succeed, opening these hubs can help transform the continent's cold chains with huge impacts on food security and carbon footprint. They can provide jobs, make food systems more resilient, and accelerate innovation. Okay, so granted, it's no surprise that cold chains isn't the typical dinner conversation, but it doesn't mean that we should give it the cold shoulder. And with temperatures heating up, the future of cooling is a bigger priority than ever before. It's our only way to preserve food on a scale that can prevent a global food crisis. But in doing so, we need to make sure we don't trade in one crisis for another. Effective cooling doesn't have to come at a cost to the climate. Actually, it could benefit it, whilst also feeding the world.